The reality is most people who have been trying to lose weight for years on end, who struggle with food noise, emotional eating, and just self-sabotage all of the time, have this list of almost unconscious, silent, really quiet food rules that they don't even know is plaguing their actions because it's all subconscious. For whatever reason, you had the rule in the back of your head, you must finish everything on your plate. If you unconsciously have these rules around dessert is bad and you have to earn the right to eat and all these other things that we're going to get into, it's no wonder it affects your actions. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new episode of Dieting from the Inside Out. If you're new around here, welcome to the show. My name is Jared Hamilton and I'm your host. And in today's episode, I'm going to show you the silent food rules that are keeping you stuck. The reality is most people who have been trying to lose weight for years on end, who struggle with food noise, emotional eating, and just self-sabotage all of the time, have this list of almost unconscious, silent, really quiet food rules that they don't even know is plaguing their actions because it's all subconscious. So I'm going to show you what this list of food rules that a lot of people have going on and how to unpack and unplug each of them so you don't sabotage anymore. That's what we're going to get into on today's episode. Now, if you have not subscribed already to the show, be sure and do that because that is how we're able to, one, get this podcast to more ears, and number two, make sure you are alerted every time a new episode comes out because I am not slowing down and I'm just keep coming at you with more powerful and even more powerful episodes. Now, if you have not also left a review for the show, that would mean a ton. Just scroll to the bottom of wherever you're listening to this on and leave a review and a 5-star rating and all of that good stuff. It'd mean a lot as well. Now, let's just dive in and get to all the good stuff because at the end of the day, most people are completely oblivious that their subconscious actions is really what's holding them back from fat loss. Because this is the interesting part. Most people will say, well, I know what to do, I'm just not doing it. Or I know what I need to be doing, but it's just not happening. The problem is knowing is only 10% for most people. The vast majority of your actions, let's say 80, 90% on the daily basis, is completely subconscious. You aren't aware you're doing it. So cool, you can intellectualize this all you want and know what to do, but if it's not happening, it's because the doing is tied in your subconscious. But if you have this huge list of silent food rules that is tampering and tainting your actions, of course you're going to sabotage. Think of it this way. Imagine you're at a restaurant and there's a chef and you look over and the chef is picking his nose and reaching inside his pants and scratching an itch. And then he goes right to kneading the dough, making your pizza. You're probably going to have an issue with that. Why? It's because the germs are transferring to the food that you are going to put directly into your mouth and get you sick, or that's just fucking gross, right? It's no different when it comes to your own beliefs and how they transfer to your actions. If you unconsciously have these rules around dessert is bad and you have to earn the right to eat and all these other things that we're going to get into, it's no wonder it affects your actions. You inherently restrict and accidentally end up binge eating and feel all the food noise start to come up and you start to constantly think about food and inadvertently fall off and gain your weight back. It's how this whole thing works. So we're going to go through, I have 12, so I'm going to try to bang through these without taking too long on each. I have 12 silent food rules that are keeping you stuck. Again, you may not have all 12 or you might have all of them, but these are the ones that I see really commonly with my clients and our members. And I'm going to break through each of them. So first one, in no particular order, silent food rule number 1, you must finish everything on your plate. Or a lot of people may identify as members of the Clean the Plate Club. The reality is you don't have to finish everything on your plate, and you probably were forced to when you were a kid. This is the problem. Whereas if in the back of your head, you're not 8 anymore, you're not 10 anymore. Hell, your parents may not even be alive that forced you to do that, but it's like that rule, that silent rule is living rent-free in your head about you have to finish everything on your plate or for whatever reason, like you're wasting food, you're not being polite, whatever the thing is. We'll actually get into some of those in a little bit, but for whatever reason, you had the rule in the back of your head, you must finish everything on your plate. Otherwise, something bad is happening. Or you may have been shamed. That's the hard part, is a lot of these things around food, a parent meant well, but they use shame as a coercion to cause action to happen. And then you live in this cycle of shame. Like, I have to finish my plate. Otherwise I'm a bad person, or something's wrong. When in reality, that's not the case anymore. You are more than welcome to not finish your plate. One of the things that I actually have our clients and members do is, again, we have to rewire the way your brain works. I will actually have a client leave food and waste it on purpose. We're going to get into the food waste belief here in a minute, but I will have a client actually, like, whenever they have their food, like, leave a corner of their sandwich on their plate and not clean their plate. Or if they're eating whatever, let's say they have a little bit of pasta, and they're, instead of finishing the last bit, they'll actually leave a couple noodles, not because the noodles are bad or calorie restriction or anything like that, but it's to make that part of their brain go, we have to clean our plate. Oh, you're wasting food. Oh, mom said we couldn't do that, because we can't heal through something we avoid. We have to heal through a trigger. So that's why, again, one of the first ones is you must finish everything on your plate. The problem is that leads to a lot of people force feeding themselves and eating when they're full or they don't want the food. How many times have you ever had a plate of food and let's say it wasn't that good and you're like, I don't really want this, but you felt prompted or pressured internally to finish it. So that's extra calories. That's not being satisfied the food that you're eating because you don't want to waste it or whatever the reason, and that caused you to overeat later. Whereas you need to be the parent that you may not have had, or be the parent that is reparenting yourself and inner child now, and give yourself permission to leave a plate with food on it. Listen to me. You are not a trash can, which means you are perfectly allowed to waste food. You are perfectly allowed to not finish everything on your plate if you don't want it. By all means, if you're hungry and it's part of the meal and you want to eat your whole plate and finish it, awesome. But if you're finished and there's some fries left, or it's not that great, and just leave it. Or if you ordered food and you're like, this sucks, this is gross, this is what I wanted, I'm not in the mood for this anymore, and you really don't want to eat it, that's okay. You're allowed to waste food. You're allowed to waste money. You're allowed to upset other people if you don't like the food. I'm in the middle of at the time of recording this right now, I'm in the middle of Mel Robbins' new book called The Let Them Theory. So if you're eating food and finishing your plate because you're afraid of what someone else may think or feel, let them feel that way. You are not entitled, or you are only entitled to help you and fix yourself. You are not obligated to manage other people's emotions. So that's one of the first ones. You must finish everything on your plate, and it's not true anymore. Number 2, silent food rules keeping you stuck. This is a big one. Sweets or treats are only for special occasions. Here's the truth. Most of the time, whenever someone had this happen, where they were taught sweets and treats are only for special occasions, that's probably when your parents were only able to afford them. The reality is, or whatever reason, there was something else from when you were little. Your mom may have been trying to lose weight, or whoever took care of you was trying to lose weight and they felt like this. Or let's say you guys couldn't afford desserts and sweets and treats all the time. So they said, oh no, these are just for special occasions. So there's a lot of reasons why these silent food rules you grew up with, because that's the underlying factor through all this, is most of these food rules you probably just had in your household. You were taught by a parent who struggled themselves, who got taught by their parents. And it's this whole kerfuffle, this big thing. So for you though, this is another reason for a really bad relationship with food and subconscious restriction that leads to binge eating, is this belief of sweets or treats are only for special occasions. Whereas, don't get me wrong, we have to have some semblance of moderation in order to get to where we want to be. But the thing that I teach most of my clients is that you can have this stuff whenever you want it. Like, you could literally run over to the gas station, the grocery store, or any restaurant and get anything you want at any time. We live in a different time than when most people were taught these things. And if you struggle with moderating these foods, it's because there's this part of you of like, oh, I can't have these very often. So when I do have them, I better have as much as I can because I don't know when I'm going to get them again. Whereas we need to let go of that scarcity vibe around food. And we need to adopt an abundance mindset around all of this, because you can get this stuff anywhere. Even half the food that you may feel, oh, this is only something I get every once in a while. Like, I can't remember who I was talking to, but they were talking about like Girl Scout cookies. And they're like, oh, I get all these Girl Scout cookies because they only come around so often. And I go, you realize like the Keebler Elf makes their version of Girl Scout cookies that's in the cookie aisle at Walmart like 24/7. You can go get the tag along or the little mint ones or whatever it is almost any time. They may not just say, they may not have the Girl Scout brand on them, but you can go get that shit anytime. So you have to understand that if you have this internal silent rule of these are only for these certain times, like you can only have sweets or treats on special occasions. Well, one, that's wrong. Number two, it leads to a very inherent bad perspective or relationship around food and can cause binge eating and fall off and all those things. But it also makes you feel secretly guilty and shameful. Guilt and shame are some of the hardest emotions to deal with on this journey. But if you in the back of your head have this belief of, oh, I shouldn't have this, it's only for special occasion and I'm having it on a random Wednesday evening, well, you're going to feel all sorts of ways inside. You're going to feel inherent guilt, like I'm doing something wrong, I'm cheating, I'm da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, this is why you have to recreate the rules for your journey, because there's all these ones I'm getting into here, these like subconscious or hidden silent food rules, but you have to rewrite your rules. You may have grown up with the idea of you have to finish all the food on your plate, or you can only have sweets or treats on special occasions, but you're an adult now. This is your life. You can rewrite that. Like, I don't know who needs to hear this, but you can totally go buy a birthday cake at the store when it's not your birthday and eat it. It's these kind of things where we have to let go of the old things that were here for us in the rules and these stigmas and whatnot that don't serve you anymore. But this is where a lot of stuff comes up for most people. But this is why you can't escape a jail you don't know you're trapped in, which is why most people don't even know these rules are a thing. Most people listening to this episode don't even realize, oh shit, that's me. Oh shit, that's me. Oh, I feel like that. I didn't even realize it. So now that you're aware of it, you can unpack these and let them go. Number 3, silent food rule number 3, keeping you stuck. That certain foods are good and bad. I don't know who needs to hear this, but it's the dose that makes poison lethal. Nothing is inherently good or inherently bad. I'll prove it to you. Let's take something really good for you, like, I don't know, water. Everyone says water's good for you. You have to have it to live. Well, what happens if you drink too much water? Well, we see athletes on like football fields throw off their electrolyte balance and die, or you can actually drown in water too. So like water, it's in itself, yes, it's good, but within the context in which it's made, or that you should take it. But you can also have too much water and it'd be bad for you. You can literally overeat anything that has a calorie amount. So you could have a completely organic, gluten-free, or perfectly natural diet, but if you eat 5,000 calories of that every day, well, you're actually going to gain body fat, increase your blood pressure, gain weight, and end up dying early. So realize, like, yes, that nutrient composition matters and you want to have less processed, more nutritious, whole, real foods. I get all that, but realize that no food is inherently good or bad. That energy or that perspective around food is what enables a bad relationship with food, because you can also take anything that you quote unquote deem as bad, have it in moderation, and it increases adherence, and within the right in the right numbers, like within like a calorie deficit, for example, you'll lose weight and have peaceful fat loss. We have clients all the time and members in the collective, literally we have them all the time eat, let's say 300 to 500 calories a day of whatever they want. So that means they'll go get a donut every day, or they'll have whatever they want in their moderation numbers, whether one day it's a donut, the next day it's a candy bar, the next day it's ice cream, the next day it's pizza, where the majority of their calories are coming from better quality, more nutritious, whole, real foods. But that doesn't mean that they have to be all or nothing about it. All or nothing is one of those things that sounds good in theory, but in actuality, it actually causes suffering, and you're not all or nothing in any other area in your life. You don't like, I don't know, let's say you jam one finger, you're not going to go jam your other 9. You don't, if you accidentally cut your toenail too short, you're not going to cut the other 9 too short. If you break one leg, you're not going to go break the other. If you chip one tooth, you're not going to chip the other. Like, that doesn't even make sense. But when it comes to fat loss, that's what people do. That's what maybe a lot of you listening do, where you fell off, you mess up on your diet on a Monday, or let's say, I don't know, a Friday afternoon. So you say, fuck it, I'm not going to go work out at all. I had a client I was working with a little while back, and she really struggled with this. If she messed up on her nutrition, she goes, I don't even know why I work out. And I'm like, say that out loud. Like, think about how crazy that sounds. Whereas she's not an all or nothing person, but she tried to convince herself in fat loss she was. So you have to understand that there's no inherent all good foods or all bad foods, because you could overeat all the foods that you deem as good, and you can have in moderation all the foods that you deem as bad across the board. Right? And you can't, if you just eat only, you could literally eat 5,000 calories worth of salads every day and you'll gain weight. Or you can have donuts in moderation and lose weight. Remember, I know I say it a lot, but it's the dose that makes poison lethal. I mean, if you think about it, think of let's say someone does something really messed up and they end up on death row. Well, they're getting injected with potassium. But if you go to any hospital around the world, they are giving people potassium to make them better. Well, if I'm not mistaken, the only difference is dosage and context around it. So at the end of the day, no food is good or bad, all or nothing. It's the context matters and the dosage is what matters. So, but a lot of people, I should say, have this inherent belief that in these silent rules of like, oh, brownies are bad, chicken is good, and da-da-da-da-da. So then it leads to this almost moral high ground with these certain foods, and there's shame around these other foods. Because if you have in the back of your head the silent food rule of these foods are bad, well, then you eat them with shame. Then you stop eating them because they're bad. And then that leads to feeling restricted. And then that restriction leads to a binge. And that binge leads to you blowing your calories out of the water and then gaining weight and then going back to restriction and then back to binge. And do you see how it just all unravels? We have to undo all of this old diet culture dogma. But otherwise, that's why number 3 food rule is, or silent food rule that most people have keeping them stuck is this concept of good or bad foods. Okay. Next, number 4. Excuse me. We touched on this one a little bit in the beginning, but it's a little bit different here. Number 4 is you should never waste food. I am actually a big proponent of wasting food, and I think it should be normalized personally. I made a post on social media about that. I said, let's normalize wasting food and not force feeding ourselves. And it pissed off half the internet, which is okay. But at the end of the day, you're not a trash can. Like, could you imagine actually a lot of you may even do this. Could you imagine having a child that says, I'm full, I don't want to eat this, and then saying, no, I'm going to force you to eat it enough to where you end up throwing up because you're so full because I don't want to waste the 50 cents of that bread, the crust on the sandwich, or I don't want to waste the $4 that is left on the plate of that the food is worth. I can't even fathom that. Now, a lot of you watching may go, oh, should I do that? And that's a problem because if you do that to your kids, you are causing their relationship with food to go into the toilet and they're going to have the same journey you do. Because in my experience, any parent that's forced their kids to eat food and because they don't want to waste it and going to fuck up their relationship with food, the parent has a horrible relationship with food themselves. So it's kind of like the whole concept that hurt people. It just keeps going down. But listening to this, you can be the one in your family that stops all of this. But at the end of the day, it's okay to waste food. You may have this silent rule in the back of your head of, oh, you should never waste food, but we actually need to make it a normal thing. But more than likely, when you were growing up, you didn't want to eat and you were shamed. No, you should be eating this food. There are starving kids in other countries. Don't give that to the dog. We worked hard for that. There's so many different ones. Oh, we paid for that. Wasted food is wasted money. I do a lot of these skits, if you follow my social media channels, where I act down a lot of these kind of scenarios from childhood and they hit home with people. And this is one of the biggest ones is the concept of we don't waste food. But again, you're not a trash can. You need to value yourself enough to go, you know what? I'm full. I don't want to eat the last bit of my sandwich or this last bit of spaghetti or whatever. And I'm allowed to waste food because I advocate for myself. You need to show yourself that you are someone to value, even if you don't currently value yourself. This is how we fix this. If you don't value yourself or stand up for yourself, and then you continue to act in congruence with a person with no value, you're enabling the same behavior. So you're going to continue to feel shitty about yourself because you show up as someone who doesn't value themselves because you don't value yourself. You need to show up in your actions that you are someone you value, even if you don't value yourself. Because you can only receive in accordance with what you're given. And this is you versus you. This is why if you keep breaking promises to yourself, you'll continue to feel shitty about yourself. But if you start to keep promises to yourself after you have a good track record, then you start to feel better about yourself. It's no different here. But too often, whenever we feel this urge to not waste food, it's because of this concept that we may not value ourselves very much because we're saying the $3 worth of food on the plate is more valuable than us, which is a problem. Because then if you keep force feeding yourself, you're going to keep blowing your calories out of the water. You're going to keep feeling shameful and enabling that behavior, and you're going to end up sabotaging again. And again, it's why this whole podcast is about the silent food rules that are keeping you stuck. And here's the thing, I'm not sure why no one thinks about this. It all turns to waste in the end. Whether you have this half of a sandwich and you throw it in the trash can, it's waste. Well, if you eat it when you're not hungry and it causes you to be in a surplus and you keep overeating, it's going to either turn into body fat because you're eating in a calorie surplus, or it's going to turn into quite literal shit in the toilet. So it all ends up in the same place. But at the end of the day, you're allowed to waste food. And again, this is something that we work with clients on there's one client in particular I'm thinking of where she had a big struggle with this. She had decades and decades and decades of finisher, clean the plate club. We don't waste food. And one of her first action items is we had to go against this belief of this is not who I am anymore. So we had to start acting in congruence in her actions, because you can't just say this is who I am, but then continue to have the bad actions. You can't say I'm not a member of Clean the Plate Club anymore, but then continue to clean your plate. So for her, every single meal, she would have to leave a little bit of food on her plate and waste it. Whether that be a corner of a sandwich, a few pieces of pasta, or let's say she had pizza and she throws away the crust, whatever it may be. And it was crazy in such a short period of time how that unplugged that, because it was reinforcement of, no, that's not who I am anymore. Because she would do it and she would feel this internal resistance. And she had to remind herself, no, that's old me. That is not who I am anymore. So silent food rule number 4 is that you should never waste food. But I'm here to tell you, you're more than welcome to waste it if you don't need it. And if that really bothers you, and I'll move on after this. If that really bothers you, the concept of like, no, I feel like I shouldn't waste food, then why are you so cool wasting so many other things in your life? If you're on this moral high ground of like, no, I don't waste food, that's so bad. You use clean drinking water to flush shit down the toilet. Think about that. So for you, if you're like, no, I don't want to waste food, that $2 I paid, or the $2 equivalent of food on my plate that I paid for, I don't want to waste it. Or there's starving kids in other countries. Like, what about all the people dying of dehydration in other countries? And you literally just pissed in the water in the toilet and you flushed it down the toilet. Like, if we're going to be in the camp of, I don't waste food, I'm not a wasteful person, what are you doing about the bathroom? What about that's the one of the smallest ones too. There are so many things. Like, do you recycle every single thing you can recycle? Do you shut off and unplug all of your outlets and shut all the power off to your home when you leave to not waste electricity? Like, we could take this pretty far. If we're going to be this much of a stickler and anal about, I don't waste food, I don't waste any food, you're kind of living a lie with the rest of your life if that's the case. That's the one that always gets me, is when someone's like, no, I cannot waste food, but they literally took a shit in drinking water and flushed it down the toilet. And it goes against the whole argument. Well, I can't eat this. Well, I have to eat this when I'm full because there are starving kids in other countries. Well, there's people dying that can't get clean water in other countries, and you're literally pooping in clean drinking water. Why don't you have a problem with that? It's kind of hypocritical to me. So again, I'm not trying to say we should just all be wasteful humans, but I'm saying, like, let's at least be consistent, where that the little bit of food left on your plate that you don't want, if it's that big of a deal for you, where you're like, no, I have to finish this because I can't waste it, you're pretty wasteful in other areas in your life. And that needs to be called out then too. And then you need to make changes there. But if you're not willing to make those changes there, why are we force feeding ourselves? Hopefully this is hitting home. Next, number 5, silent food rules that are keeping you stuck. Number 5 is you don't need X. I hate the term you don't need, or when someone says, I don't need this. I don't need carbs. I don't need sugar. Oh, do you want the piece of pie? I don't need it. I hate that phrase, because my question would be, you don't need it for what? Because at the end of the day, there's a lot we don't need. You don't need eyesight. You don't need taste buds. You don't need both kidneys. You don't need a nice wardrobe. You don't need new clothes. You don't need electricity. You don't need a lot of things. But just because we don't need something for survival, that's where that comes from in a lot of cases. Like when people go, oh, carbs aren't essential. Well, what, for survival? Well, that's not even the world we're living in. But a lot of times when someone's like, I don't need it, there's so many things we don't need, and it causes a lot of shame. When someone wants to have, let's say, a cookie and they go, oh, I don't need it, I'm being good. Well, now you're putting shame around the cookie, causing a bad relationship with food, causing restriction, causing binging, and the whole 9 yards unravels and food noise gets really loud. Whereas I'm not saying you have to have everything or should always have everything, but too often we throw out that term like, oh, I don't need it, I don't need it, I don't need it. Need it for what? Because if you don't want it, awesome. Or if you're going, nope, I'm choosing not to have it because I'm putting my priorities over here, or I'm allocating those calories over here, that's fine. I get that. I'm not saying you have to have every single thing, but, and I hope this point is coming across okay, where too many people are using that term, I don't need it, where it's just adding more shame, where it never gets to the point where they do say it's okay to have it. Like, let's say you've been craving cookies for the last 3 days and you want to have 2 cookies. Instead of just having those 2 cookies in moderation and making everything happy hunky dory, it's this constant internal shame cycle of, I don't need it. Well, I shouldn't have that. I shouldn't do this. I don't need that. And I'm telling you, I've been doing this long enough. That just causes the food noise to get louder, the binge eating to get more severe, and the restriction to get even more chaotic. So that's kind of one of those other little food rules. If every time you want something, this silent food rule in the back of your head is like, oh, you don't need that. Where it's like you're allowed to have things you don't need. It's okay. And you need to give yourself permission for that. Number 6. What time we got? We're almost a half hour in already. All right, number 6. Silent food rules keeping you stuck. You must earn your food with exercise or movement. Look, I'm telling you right now, you are not a dog. You do not have to earn any of this stuff. Too many people that I chat with, and that whether they're messaging me or their clients or what have you, there's this a definite old stigma rule in the back of their head is this concept of having to earn their food. Oh, I have to eat this little unless I earn it with exercise, or I can't have the sweets until I earn it in the gym. That is not how this is. You are not a dog. You don't have to earn your treats. You don't have to earn the right to eat. You're worthy of treats and food. Excuse me. And all of those things right now. Sorry if my voice is starting to go out. I've been having a throat issue the past couple of days, but I hope this is making sense. You don't have to earn anything. You're worthy of this right now. But if you have this silent food rule in the back of your head of, oh, I have to earn the right to eat more. I have to earn the right to have snacks. I have to earn the right to have sweets. Well, then of course you're going to have food noise hella loud, and you're going to have restriction and binge eating and weight gain and all of these things. Again, the only reason I'm doing this, like this episode about this subject specifically, is most people are oblivious to these food rules in the back of their head. And it's these that are getting into their action subconsciously. Like right here, if you have this kind of rule in the back of your head, if you have to earn food with exercise, well, then you're going to unconsciously restrict and end up falling off because you can't take it anymore because you're trying to eat 1,000 calories a day, 1,200 calories a day. So we have to unpack that and realize that you don't have to earn any of this stuff. You can have it all right now. Number 7, excuse me. Number 7, I don't think I repeated this one. Okay. Number 7, desserts should be avoided unless it's a special occasion. I feel like we did this one. Yeah, we did this one. Okay. Whoops, it looks like I had a duplicate. Okay. Ignore that one. All right. We'll say this is number 7. If you eat something bad, you've ruined your whole day. I hear this one a lot. How many times have you ever been like following your plan, but then you ate more than you wanted, or you ate a cookie or what have you, and then all of a sudden you go, oh no, shame kicks in, guilt kicks in, and then you feel like your whole day is ruined. Well, again, it's another one of those subconscious old stigma rules that can bleed into everything else. So 2 things with this. If the old silent food rule is you ate something bad, so you've ruined your whole day. Number 1 is, like we already talked about, there's nothing bad. There's nothing inherently bad. If you had a cookie, if you had a pizza, hell, if you had a whole whatever, if you had a whole pack of cookies, again, not that we're encouraging that, but it doesn't mean the whole day is shot. Yeah, you may have overeaten too many calories for, let's say, that day, but you're always one decision from being back on track. How many times have you eaten one thing that you felt was too bad and the whole day was shot? Then you said, fuck it, and continued to spiral and make worse and worse decisions. You're missing workouts. You're not doing your inner work. You say, fuck it for the rest of the weekend. It's these kind of things. So you have to understand that this is one of those silent rules, excuse me, that is sabotaging you. Because again, there's nothing inherently good or bad. It's the dose that makes poison lethal, like we talked about. But your whole day is never ruined. I don't care if you binged your face off. You can still have vegetables. You can still exercise. You can still get your steps in. You can still eat enough protein. You can still hold space for your emotions. There are still so many good habits that you can do the rest of a day, regardless of how much you eat or not. So no day is inherently ruined because of one decision. Because at the end of the day, you are literally one decision away from being back on track. So, but again, this is one of those hidden food or silent food rules. Number 9, There's 12, by the way. Well, technically number 8, because that one was a duplicate. Okay. You have to clean your plate to be polite or grateful. So this one, we've kind of already touched on this with the whole clean your plate concept, but there's this other piece to this the reason why I left it on here, because we already talked about the old mentality and the old silent rule of you have to clean your plate and how wrong that is. But this part right here, you have to clean your plate to be polite or grateful. If there's ever a qualifier on one of these silent rules for you, we have to unpack that, right? In this one, you have to clean your plate to be polite or grateful. Well, one, you can be absolutely polite leaving food on your plate. You can be absolutely grateful leaving food on your plate. Just because you don't finish your plate doesn't mean that you weren't grateful for the food that you ate, or it doesn't mean you're being impolite. Again, if someone gets triggered or upset, even, I'll play devil's advocate. If someone gets triggered or upset that you didn't finish the food on your plate and they think you aren't grateful or they think you aren't being polite, just like Mel Robbins says, let them. That's not your problem. That's their own issue. That's their own stuff they have to deal with. Because at the end of the day, literally nothing is worth you force feeding yourself when you don't want to eat. There's not a single thing that you need to do or should be doing that qualifies you to force feed yourself to finish your plate when you go, I'm full, I don't want any more of this. And then if you think of all the reasons, it's a people-pleasing thing. It's a pattern. It's, I don't want this person to think I didn't like the food. I don't want this person to think I'm being ungrateful. I don't want this person to think I'm being rude. I don't want this person to think, well, what about you? Advocate for yourself, damn it. You have worthiness here. You have these parts of you that you need to show value to. Now, I know you may have this pattern of maybe not have shown value to yourself in the past, but you can change that here. Again, if you've spent so many years devaluing yourself, it's going to feel strange showing value to yourself even when you don't feel valuable. But that is the secret. It's just like unmotivated action is what will eventually create motivation. It's the same thing here. You have to show up for yourself, that you value yourself even when you currently don't. And it's a game changer. All right, number 10, some more silent food rules, or whatever number we're on. You should feel guilty after eating junk food. Again, couple things. Number one is we talked about this already. There's no such thing as junk food. There's no such thing as bad food. There's more processed food. There's less processed food, but nothing is inherently bad. That's just that perspective and that relationship with food is just going to tarnish everything at all. Because here's why. It's easy on social media and for influencers without a life to say food is just fuel and nothing else, which is bullshit. Because at the end of the day, food is so many things for us. It is in every event that you go to. It is in every experience. Actually, the ones that you probably value the most have a massive food component to it. Christmas, Thanksgiving, family get-togethers, birthday parties. Think about every picture you would take with your kids for like events and vacations and all this stuff. There's probably food attached. Some of the best time I connect with my wife is over date night. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Food is in everything and everywhere. So if you don't have a great relationship with it and a great perspective around food, your life is going to be a living hell and weight loss is going to be impossible. So if this silent food rule is running in the back of your head that you should feel guilty after eating, we'll just say, like they in this one say junk, but let's say more processed food that's not completely whole and natural. Well, then you're going to naturally avoid those things and then subconsciously feel restricted and then binge, food noise, the whole 9 yards. You see, I'm sure the theme behind how all this works is these rules are in the back of your head and they make you feel some type of way unconsciously. So you restrict, food noise gets loud, binge eating, emotional eating, the whole 9 yards, and you go back into the yo-yo dieting cycle. Next, I think 11 or 12. Okay. Don't give into your cravings. This one is interesting because one of the things people say a lot is like, oh, well, Jared, I gave into my cravings. The way that is worded, don't give in to your cravings, that makes it sound like you were peer pressured. Something was like, that was a bad decision versus I like to think of, no, we honor cravings. Do you feel the subtle distinction? Like, let's say someone has a craving for cookies and they eat them, but they say, oh, I gave into my craving versus I honored my craving. One has guilt attached. Oh, I gave in. It's like I gave into peer pressure. I gave in and took drugs. I gave in. That leads a little bit of guilt because of the other, what word am I looking for? Because the other correlations to other areas in your life, we give in or cave in. But I view this as honoring. Cravings are something to be honored, because if you don't honor a craving, it's just going to get worse. This is why I hate it when people go, oh, I want something sweet. Some Instagram asshole says, have an apple. They have the apple, then they're still not satisfied. And then they try to eat 5 or 6 other things that kind of are sweet, but they really just want a Reese cup. And then they end up binge eating on the Reese cups, and they ate the 800 calories worth of other food to try to fix that sweet tooth craving. Versus if they would have just had the 150 calorie Reese cup, all this would have been done with a long time ago. So, if you have this kind of silent food rule in the back of your head of don't give in to your cravings, that makes you feel inherently guilty and subconsciously bad, like you did something wrong when you do enjoy what it is you crave. But it's okay to enjoy your cravings. I'm here to tell you, you need to honor your cravings, and handling and honoring them when they're small is actually going to keep them from getting big. Think about it like water. If you, excuse me, if you are a little thirsty, just a little bit, a little sip fixes it, like that. But if you are a little bit thirsty, you don't have water, and then you wait hours and hours and hours and hours, and now you are super thirsty, you're going to drink a ton of water. You might even feel sick. We've all done it. It's the same thing with food in cravings. If your craving is small, let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, if you're like a 3, go have a 3-level craving with a 3-level response. If you're like, oh man, cookies do sound kind of good, have a cookie. Because you're in that state of it's a number 3 out of 10. You're like, oh, a cookie sounds pretty good. Have it there and you will be good. But what most people do is they wait, they go, it's a 3. And then they go, no, I don't need it. Back to that other issue. Now they go a few days and now the 3 is a 6. Now they're like, fuck, I really, really want cookies. And they go, no, I'm being good. They wait till the weekend. Now their craving is a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of a 10. And then they end up smashing a whole box of cookies. Whereas if they just ate it when they go, oh yeah, cookies do sound good, and had that level of response, like a 1 or 2 cookies, it would have fixed the whole problem. But again, if the old silent belief is don't give in, cravings are bad, well, that causes all the problems. Okay. And then the last one, this is, and what's funny is I actually added this one. I almost didn't, but this is something a lot of people tell me, almost as like a bad thing. Whenever, let's say someone's applying for coaching or wanting to get involved in the collective, and they go, Jared, but I'm a foodie. But yeah, I really want this, but I know I'm a foodie. I love food. And a lot of times my question will be, do you think that's bad? And most people say yes. So this is the last one on the silent food rules, is being a foodie is bad. Listen, you're supposed to have food, or I'm sorry, you're supposed to enjoy food. You have taste buds for a reason. And in our culture and most others, food is meant to be enjoyed, socialized, and experienced with some of the greatest parts of our lives, the greatest memories. So if you aren't a foodie, I would think it's kind of weird. I think there's nothing better than having a group of friends and going and getting food. Or when you travel, you want to try the different foods. My wife and I just got back from a Puerto Rico trip, and we ate at almost every little local spot that we could find because we wanted to try the food there. At the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with enjoying food, but it's kind of like the old Spider-Man quote, but with great power comes great responsibility. So if you do enjoy a lot of food and you are a foodie, well, then we have to make sure that it's moderated and the plan is structured accordingly to where you aren't just a fuck it free for all and binge eating everything in sight. This is why most people need a framework and a pattern on how to reach their goals and be a foodie in the process. That's honestly exactly what we teach inside my coaching group, The Collective, on how to do all that and fix your relationship with food, silence the food noise, and be a foodie while getting your results. That's what we teach in there. Actually, I wasn't going to pitch this right here, but if you want, if that's something that you want, I'll leave a link below in the description where you could check it out and see if it's something you want to be part of. But at the end of the day, that aside, if you have this belief in the back of your head that being a foodie is bad, but you know you are a foodie and you love food, you love experiencing food, you like trying new restaurants, but you feel bad about it, you're almost feeling guilty about a part of your identity. If you're like, no, I'm a foodie, this is who I am, this is what I love to do, and that's how I connect with people and all this stuff, well, you're going to feel inherently bad about that. And then, of course, it's going to mess your actions up, and you're going to just live in the cycle of shame and restricting and binging. So, yeah, that's not good. Unpack that. There's nothing wrong with being a foodie. We just have to have the right structures and frameworks in place so you can have it all. So those are the 11, I believe, the 11 silent food rules keeping you stuck. I hope this made sense. I was actually going back and forth with some stuff trying to figure out what to do today's episode on. And this is what came up, and I hope it helps And sorry if my head's a little bit all over the place today. I'm coming off, I think something's trying to get me sick. So I feel like I'm not communicating quite as effectively as I normally do. But nonetheless, I wanted to get you this episode and get you everything that you need. Now, before you go, I do have a bunch of stuff in the description for you. Like I just said, if this is something that you want to fix and unpack, especially if you're listening to this and you're like, wow, I have a lot of those, but I don't know quite what to do or how to go about unpacking them fully, so I'm completely free from them. It's exactly what we do inside the collective, my coaching group, where me and my team are in there, and we have countless other women inside this group that are getting free around food, free around their belief systems, and changing everything about their lives and getting I'm talking about total broken, free, wide open with all the things that's held them captive their whole lives. So I have a link with all of the details on that and how to get involved and how to join. I'll leave that down there. I have a bunch of free resources down there for you as well. Or if you've wanting to see about the possibility of getting on the wait list for one-on-one coaching, there's a link down there for you as well. Otherwise, I appreciate you being here. Be sure to subscribe to the show if you haven't already. I love you, and I will talk to you next time.